The first Saturday of November is declared by government as National Children's Day, and the purpose of today's celebrations is highlighting the progress made in realizing and promoting children's rights. Nikki Bush is an award-winning speaker and best-selling author of Future-Proof Your Child, among others, and she joins us live on Zoom. Good afternoon to you, Nikki, and thanks so much for your time. It's been many, many years since we last spoke, I think 2009, when Future-Proof Your Child came out. We've been following your career in the sense that you're very, your advocacy around leadership and also promoting play for children's development, early childhood development. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Cindy. Lovely to be with you.
All right, let's talk about the practical advice, or maybe the framework that you also had, now that we're observing the first Saturday of November as a National Children's Rights Day. They have a right to quality education, access to healthcare, etc. But primarily, when we look at early childhood development, what are the gaps in your view?
Cindy, I believe that we are doing the majority of our youngest and most vulnerable members of society an absolute disservice in South Africa. Preschool education is privatized, which means the bulk of our learners never get the benefit of proper school readiness. They all get pushed into grade R, and 6 years worth of development gets concertinaed into exactly 1 year. It is both unfair on the teachers to expect them to get these children ready for academic learning in grade 1, as well as on the developing mind, because that developing mind takes time, and that developing mind needs a lot of exposure to rich learning environments in order to lay down the neurological pathways that will underpin mathematics, literacy, numeracy, reading, writing. Those things are not only taught in the four walls of a classroom or between the pages of books or on computer screens, but they're actually taught through play. And we are raising yet another generation of South African children with enormous play gaps, which then lead to learning gaps.
But Nikki, I mean, it's often as if that academia and maybe professionals like yourself are not reaching out, particularly to government where the problem resides. You mentioned that the lack of resources and the teachers who are overstretched and the teacher-pupil ratio as well being another challenge. So are you actually tapping on the door of government and say, look, you need to introduce these particular activities just so that children are developed from an early child or early development for children?
Yeah, so I would love to have the entire cabinet on the floor with me, taking them through school readiness through play, because I think most adults in our country have been led to believe that teachers can take our children from grade R to matric and get them through, and that school is the only way to do it. In fact, we are being sold a dummy, because in the early years, those first 6 years of life, we really do need for all parents to be committed to their children's developmental journey. They have a massive role to play in helping their children to acquire what we call perceptual skills. And then our children need to go to daycare and preschool where there is a structured curriculum to stimulate our children, and it needs to be play-based. So there's this complete misunderstanding that play is just something that you do to keep children occupied. In fact, when play processes are very specifically designed, they build those foundations. So let's think about a brick wall, Cindy. If we build a brick wall, whether it's a garden wall or a wall for a house, if there are bricks missing in the foundations of the wall, when a strong wind comes or a flood comes, that house is going to be taken away because it doesn't have strong, deep foundations. So what do we see
so
happening at the
sorry, Nikki,
moment?
I just want to touch on the skill set, especially with parents of school-going age children who may not have those kind of extracurricular or extramural activities in their school. How play then can be utilized at home, be it card games or be it just a mental stimulation for children, that they can then develop skills like resilience, curiosity, and communication skills as well.
Absolutely. So everything that I talk about can be taught using high-end games and toys, but can also be conveyed to children by using waste. So there is no family in this country that cannot progress their children through these perceptual skills, because you can use ordinary everyday household items as well as waste in order to teach children these skills. And the art is that we do it playfully. So learning through play gives children a multi-sensory experience. And when it's multi-sensory, it's about the child. And children are egocentric. So the learning experience starts with the child. It doesn't start in a book. So there are about 36 different perceptual skills that are required for reading, writing, and numeracy. And all of these can be experienced through play, not just through books. So we also need to help children to consolidate that learning. Learning happens through repetition, by using different experiences, different environments, over and over again, so that children can develop mastery. One of the biggest issues we have, and this is a real violation of children's rights, is that our children do not get to acquire these perceptual skills and consolidate them before they get into the formal learning environment. And so we are pushing children into grade 1 who are not ready, and then they find academic learning hard right from the very beginning. Not only that, but the teachers have a very difficult time, because they're actually having to do remediation from day 1 for the majority of children in their classes. And you mentioned earlier that we have a very, very big student to teacher ratio that is really untenable.
Yeah, so before we let you go, Nikki, how do we fare to the rest of the world, very briefly, and also just the advice that you would give in terms of, mitigating the challenges that we have, very briefly, Nikki.
So there is no world in which no play is okay. South African children are suffering from play poverty. We need to get our kids into preschool and give them the benefit of at least 3 years of preschool education, so that they are ready for the formal learning environment. And learning is done through experience more than anything else. So we need qualified preschool teachers to take our children through this journey so that they are ready for formal learning, and therefore won't have skills gaps and learning gaps, and will not be unemployed in the future. So that's my wish for South Africa's children on this National Day of the Child, is that every child in South Africa has the gift of a superb preschool education.
All right, Nikki, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. That is Nikki Bush, an award-winning speaker and best-selling author of numerous books, and her debut book being The Future or Future-Proof Your Child. She joined us live from via Zoom, based here in Johannesburg. For more, you can go to nikkibush.com. That is nikkibush.com if you want to also just tap in to her wealth of wisdom.